This is a coming-of-age story of 12-year-old Kingsley who has a fascination with astronauts and rockets. When Kingsley is pulled to his headmaster's office for being disruptive in class, he discovers he's being sent to a school for those with special needs. Distracted by working two jobs, his parents are unaware of the unofficial segregation policy at play, preventing many black children from receiving the education they deserve, until a group of West Indian women take matters into their own hands. Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new review, and today we're talking about Education, which is the fifth and final installment, a part of the Small Acts anthology series. Really excited to talk about this film, let you all know what I thought about it in this spoiler-free review, but also give you all my general thoughts of the Small Acts anthology series as a whole, and give you my rankings of all 5 films at the end of this video, so definitely stick around. Before we dive into it, as you can see on the screen now, make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All those links can be found in the description below. If you are new to this channel, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you can get the alert for when I drop new videos. It would mean a lot to me if you all can share and like this video. It helps out the channel, but I also really appreciate the support. And in the comments, let me know you all's thoughts of Education, your pros, your cons, your thoughts of the performances, the message, and the direction by Steve McQueen. And if you've seen all 5 films, let me know your general thoughts of the series as a whole, and give me your personal rankings of all 5 films. Let's have a discussion about it all in the comment section. So for me, when it comes to this being the last film of this 5-part anthology series, I thought it was perfect to wrap up these stories. It's education. It's how important education is. And just thinking about my experience with this series, I knew nothing about these 3 stories that took place in real life. All stories, that this was based upon were based on real life circumstances, but 3 of the stories were based on the Mangrove 9, which were real people. Leroy Logan, Alex Weedle, people I knew nothing about, but I was educated by Steve McQueen about the circumstances at hand. And it speaks to this film's plot without getting into the spoilers. You have a young 11 and 12-year-old Kingsley who is in school very early on in the film. He's asked to read up in front of the class, which is something I used to fear when I was his age, and something that took a while to get over. But as he's reading, he's a very smart man. He knows his math. He wants to be an astronaut when he grows up, but unfortunately he can't read. And not only in this moment does he get picked fun of, people laugh at him, his students in particular, but then his teacher, someone that's supposed to support him in the educational system, makes fun of him. And something happens where he has to go off to another school, and they send him to what they call in this film a special needs school. And seeing Kingsley, this bright young man, being sent to the school, and all the kids that were involved in the school, it was just really heartbreaking to see, because it shows the failure of the school system. And if our youth can't be educated, what do we expect the future to be like, right? That's why we see, not to get too off on a sidetrack, but being people nowadays on social media, and particularly being miseducation about things that are going on in the real world, and just the lack of education, the lack of doing their research, it just speaks to how they were taught in school, right? And it just goes back to my youth in school and not learning about certain things of not only American history, but just world history. So it just really kind of speaks to a lot of stuff that is just very detrimental. When kids aren't educated, what happens to our future? What does our future look like? So that's where this story to me just really hits home, and it speaks to the performances. You have this young man who plays Kingsley, who I thought was fantastic in the role. I thought that it just goes to show 11 and 12-year-old, he has dreams, he has goals, he has an imagination. He wants to be an astronaut growing up. He wants to be going off to space. But then early on in this film, one of his white friends tell him, black people can't be astronauts, right? Very small, quick scene, but a pivotal scene. Tie that into him being embarrassed, not being able to read, being picked on and being laughed at by his fellow students, being told by his teacher that he's not smart, calling him a name, really can shape someone into growing up. And we see that within the other supporting cast members, his family. You have his mom and his dad who work hard. They love their kids. He has, Kingsley has an older sister who's educated, but their parents are working a lot. So they don't, unfortunately, pay attention to what's going on in Kingsley's school. They don't know how's homework, how's school. Do you need help with your math? Do you need help with reading? Which speaks to his mother, who learns about what's going on in school, and she steps up and really wants to help Kingsley. And this is a really emotional connection that she has with her son. But then speaking to Kingsley's dad, who Kingsley was kind of put in a position to be more like your father. Go into, and this isn't a spite to people that do these jobs, but be a plumber, be work in the labor field and not really strive to be an astronaut. And his father was unfortunately let down and it was failed by his school system. His father can't really read or write, and his father just does, handyman work and really is just put into a box. And that's where I think the story kind of really hits home, because you see the sides of the two coins, where his mom finds out about it and wants to help out. His dad gets on board without getting into the spoiler territory and the support of his sister, but it just kind of goes to show, if you don't know what's going on in your kid's education system, how much you're not only failing, the school's not failing, the school's obviously failing them, but then also as parents, you got to see what's going on. So I love the kind of tie in with his parents and his sisters, and then the other supporting cast members, whether it be, there's a particular institute that kind of comes in to go into these schools to see how things are going, and that's where you get the heroes of the story per se, besides the mom stepping up and the parents stepping up by Kingsley. But this organization comes in to help the kids. You have Naomi Ackie, who's a great young up-and-coming actress. You might have seen her in the second season of The End of the Effing World. She was in Rise of Skywalker last year. She just got announced, as I'm recording this video, to be the next, to play Whitney Houston in the biopic of her life. So I thought just her being implemented in the story as Hazel, someone that stepped in to care and help these kids, I thought they were great to the story. There's a particular scene, again, this is such an emotional and just really resonates with me. There's a scene where we see Kingsley. He goes to this Saturday school, and it's a school with other people that's been kind of left behind and been forgotten about and been failed by the educational system. And we see in this film the institutional racism that's going on in the film. But he goes to this school on Saturday, and they embrace Kingsley. He learns more, and there's a scene where the black teacher asks the black students, "What do you all know about your history and your parent, and your ancestors?" And one of the young black girls says, "Well, I know they were slaves." And she says, "Is that all you know?" And that just speaks to, again, what I learned in school, not knowing much about, a lot of different things. They just kind of put you in a box, just letting you know the basic things. They don't tell you all the other stuff that we should be educated on. So it just kind of speaks a lot to lack of education, how detrimental that could be to a kid's life. And once those kids become older, they become teens, they become adults, how the lack of education can affect society. So this was just such a powerful film. The performances were really solid across the board. Again, Steve McQueen knocks out of the park with his direction. Doing some research about this film, this was a very personal story for Steve McQueen, because he felt like he was failed in his educational system. And you can see the passion in this film. I thought his direction was great. And I just thought all around, this was just hit me much differently than the other four films hit me in an emotional sense, but still hit me emotionally because of, again, how sad and how upsetting it was to see the school system and the institutional racism being displayed in the 70s, and it's something that we still know that goes on today. So this is just such a relevant and such a powerful, impactful story nonetheless. There were some criticisms that I had, and honestly, there was only really one criticism. The film gets better as it goes on, and it really hits the emotional beats. The message, the acting really picks up, especially in that second and that incredibly powerful and impactful and emotional, satisfying conclusion. But the beginning takes a little bit to kind of find its footing. It was a little rocky at points, but again, that's only within like the first 15 minutes. So it took a minute before I was kind of hooked and really locked into the plot. But besides that, this film was really solid across the board. So before I give you my overall thoughts, my score, give you my rankings of the 5 films as a whole, make sure if you haven't already to like and share this video, leave your thoughts in the comments section, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell so you don't miss any of my other content. With that being said, let me share with you all my overall thoughts. So overall for me, Steve McQueen yet again knocks out of the park with the direction, the writing, the message behind the film regarding the institutional racism that was going on, and how important it is for our youth to be educated and have people to step up to help them get the education that they need. Really kind of resonates and really speaks to my personal connection with education. And I think this film is very powerful, as well as the performances were great, the cinematography, the soundtrack, all that really comes together with this film, Education. So with that being said, I'm going to give Education a solid 4 out of 5 and recommend you all give it a watch. Which, speaking of giving a watch, we got to talk about Small Acts. This was such a powerful anthology series from Mangrove, Lovers Rock, Red, White, and Blue, Alex Wheatle, now finishing up with Education. All great films. They all had something different to say. They all still kind of connected within, stepping up, how it was important for the Mangrove 9 to step up for themselves, for the future generations could do things like we see in Lovers Rock, and seeing the passion, the culture, the food, the dancing, transitioning over to Red, White, and Blue, seeing John Boyega as the real life character, Leroy Logan, and how how he wanted change, so he was a part of change. He became a police officer to change the community within and change the system from within. Transition to Alex Whyte, seeing his struggle, his love for passion and music, and having his voice being out there and speaking up for what's going on in the riots during that time. And then wrapping things up with education. Again, how important it is to be educated, to know about your heritage, your ancestors, to learn about things that are important, to move forward, to teach the future generation. So I thought as a whole, this series was incredible. Steve McQueen did an incredible job bringing these stories together. Again, things I knew nothing about, but now I'm educated about it, which I am just so honored to know about these stories and to continue to learn more about these stories. And I thought 5 films by one man speaks a lot to his sensibilities as a director and what a great visionary he is. So Steve McQueen and all the people involved, from the cinematographers, the people that compose the scores, the cast, the crew, knockout job with this series. And congratulations to you all, because you did something very special, and I'm very happy that I saw these 5 films. So speaking of the 5 films, giving you my rankings as I finish this video up, I'll have to say, for me, all great films. They all have messages. They're all great within themselves. But for me, I would say number 5 would be Alex Whyte. Number 4 would be Education. Number 3 for me comes in at The Lovers Rock. Actually, let me switch that up. Let me go from 1 to 5, because I'm actually losing my place. Number 1, Red, White, and Blue. Number 2, Mangrove. Number 3, Education. Number 4, Lovers Rock. And number 5, Alex Whyte. All great films in their own right, but those are my personal 5 that I enjoyed with this series. So let me know your list. Let me know your thoughts on this film as a whole, your thoughts on the series as a whole, and let's have a discussion about it in the comments below. So as always, thank you all for watching this review. Make sure to like, share, comment your thoughts in the comment section, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That way you can get the alert from when I drop new videos. Thank you all for watching this video. Hope you're staying safe, and we'll see you in the next one.